Alright guys, so we are in the beautiful world of Blender 3D, and here we're going to be making that amazing car which is on the intro. Alright, so let's begin with this cube. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be deleting the camera and deleting the light. And we are not going to be deleting the default cube because we're going to be using it to model our car. So yeah, for this tutorial you do need to be familiar with edit mode, this edit mode right here, because we are going to be working with the vertices, and we are going to be basically making the whole shape of this car. So yeah, without any further ado, first save your project and then let's start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to side view. So I'm just going to go to side view, and here we are first of all going to turn on this X-ray mode so we can see through it. And I'm just gonna be explaining the reason for this in just a minute. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this cube, and then we're gonna be going to edit mode, right? So here what we can do is that, okay, right now let me just turn this X-ray mode off so you can see what is the issue. So if I select any vertex, for example, if I select any vertex, you can see we have selected it, and now if I press G and move it, you're gonna see that only this side, this vertex, is selected and not that one, because and what we want to do is we want to select both of them, right? So that is the reason why we are turning on X-ray mode. Now if I turn on X-ray mode and if I undo that, and now if I select this again with the box select mode, and now if I press G, you're going to see that both of them are selected. Okay, so that is basically why we turn on this X-ray mode. Okay, cool. So let me just turn it on, and now we're going to be working with the vertices. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that first of all I'm going to be extending these. So I'm just going to turn on this move tool because we're going to be moving vertices a lot, and our car should be something like that much, that tall. So yeah, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be bringing this down, and it should be something like that probably. Yeah, I'm just going to select these vertices as well, and I'm going to be dragging them here, so that we get a general idea of how tall or how wide our car is supposed to be. And I'm just gonna go to side view, and let's do one thing. Let's bring this forward. Now this modeling part is going to be a little repetitive, and it might feel a little boring to some of you, but the thing is, it's very important because the thing is, modeling is something which is very subjective. It's going to be different for every single one of your projects, right? So you need to be familiar with the tools, and the tools which I'm going to be teaching in this class are going to be very helpful. So yeah, let's begin. So now we have the basic shape of the top part of our what do you call it, our truck, and we are obviously going to be making tweaks and making changes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two bottom vertices, and since we have X-ray mode turned on, you're going to see that we have selected all the ones at the back as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be pressing extrude I'm going to be pressing E on my keyboard for extrude. So once I do that, I'm just going to press E, and we're going to be moving it down. You're going to see that we can extrude it. Now I'm just gonna left click right here, and you're gonna see that we have extruded this. Now the reason why we extruded this is that so we can actually make changes to this, and we can move it forward and stuff like that without affecting this this top part. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna undo. I'm gonna move it up, something like that. So let me just take this one and move it forward, something like that. And next up, what I'm just gonna select these all, and I'm gonna extrude it once again, so something like that. And I'm going to bring this back now. Alrighty, so we can see we have this front part of our truck, but I am going to be moving this slightly more forward, so that we are having a better effect. So, and one thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this backside because it's way too small. And another thing which I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be slightly moving all these vertices back, like to the left, so that we are having a slight bit of an angle, which looks much better than not having one. And yeah, so that is the basic shape of our car, and we are obviously going to be making adjustments and tweaks to the size and everything later on, but yeah, that is it for now. So now we're going to be working on the bottom part of the truck, and for that what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be creating another cube. Okay, so I'm just going to actually I'm going to get out of edit mode. I'm just going to go back to object mode, and then we're going to be pressing add mesh and a cube. Perfect. Now I'm going to go to side view again, and we're going to be moving it down, and now we're going to be scaling it properly so that it roughly just covers this what do you call it, this truck. So something like that should be good, I guess. Yeah, perfect. Now we are going to be going into edit mode, and we are going to be working with the vertices. So that is that. It should be something like that, and this should be up a little bit. Something like that should be good. Let me just move it a little to the left. Let's just move both of these a little to the right as well, and that is perfect. So now you're going to see that we have this thing, and right now obviously it is not placed perfectly. It's not scaled correctly, so I'm just going to scale it up. And let me just move it. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to use the scale tool and move tool both simultaneously, and instead of like switching between them and moving and then scaling and everything, you can just use this transform tool, and it's going to give you all the tools like rotation, scaling up and down, and moving. So it's very useful. So I'm just going to go to front view, and we're going to be moving something like that. Let's scale it up, and with this transform tool you can see we can do all that without switching between tools again and again. Perfect. So yeah, that is basically it. Let me just go to the side view and scale it up properly. Let's scale it a little bit like that. Perfect. Cool. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now this this much of our truck is done, and it doesn't look like a truck yet. So yeah, next up what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be making some adjustments, and I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to go to the edit mode, select this and go to the edit mode, and I'm just going to move this up. And I made that same exact mistake because I didn't go to X-ray mode, and now you can see only one of them was selected. So I'm just going to go to X-ray mode now, select these and move them up. Something like that should be perfect. And next up what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be actually, let's do the easy parts first, and then we're going to be working on the difficult part, which is the tires. Okay, so for the easy part, we're going to be adding the lights first. So lights are going to be very, very simple. I'm just going to turn off the X-ray mode, and I'm just going to add mesh, and we are going to be adding a cylinder. I'm just going to move it down, bring it forward, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees exactly. So the way you rotate exactly 90 degrees is by holding control, and when you hold control, you're going to see in the top left hand corner that it's rotating in increments of 5. So I'm just going to bring it to 90, and then you can see I'm just going to stop it, and now we can scale it down, and let's actually go to the side view, and let's place it properly. So I'm just going to rotate it so that it's basically parallel to the surface, and I'm going to move it like that. Something like that. So I'm just going to scale it up, and I'm going to scale it down in this axis. So something like that should be good. However, you're going to see that it's not a circle anymore, so that is not good. We do want it to be a circle. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the transform tool, to the scale tool, and I'm going to be just pressing anywhere inside the circle. So it's going to scale it up uniformly, right? So something like that should be good. Let me just move it back. So now, right now, the thing is, I'm just gonna show you one quick tip. So basically, what happens is that right now, if I move it back, you're gonna see that it's moving in the global x-axis, the x-axis of the actual project. But I want it to move along the axis of this object. So what I'm gonna do is right here, instead of global, I'm gonna set the transform orientation to local. And now you're gonna see that it is set to local transform rotation, and now we can just move it along the actual axis of the object. So that is perfect, and I think that should be good for the light. However, I'm going to make some adjustments. I just pressed S for scale tool, and something like that should be good probably. Now we could obviously scale it down, but since it's inside this car and it's not going to make that much of a difference, so I wouldn't waste my time on that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be duplicating this. So Shift D for duplicate. And now you can see if I move my cursor, you're going to see that it's just going to move, and we can place it anywhere we want. However, I'm going to press right click. I'm going to right click on my mouse, and you're going to see that it's going to rotate. It's going to reset the position. So now you're going to see that we have cylinder and cylinder 001. So that is the duplicated version. So I'm just going to scale it down slightly, and I'm going to move it forward. Perfect. So to this cylinder, we're going to be adding a material which is going to emit light, and to this we're just going to be adding a normal material. Now one thing Now we only have one light for now, so we are going to be duplicating it on the other side as well. Now one thing, now there are two ways to do this, okay? One way would be to just select both of these and press Shift D, move them to that side, but there are two problems with that. First of all, it's not that efficient. If you want to make change to one light, you're going to have to do it to both of the lights, and that is very time consuming. And secondly, the thing is, you won't be able to align them perfectly, because there's always going to be some error, some degree of human error involved, okay? So instead, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be using something called something known as a mirror modifier. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be first of all selecting this smaller cylinder. I'm going to go to this modifiers menu, modify properties, and here we can add a modifier. Now what modifiers are is that basically they affect your mesh in various ways, okay? I'm just going to press add modifier, and here is all the options for the modifier, right? So the one which we are interested in right now is this mirror modifier right here. So I'm just going to press that, and I'm going to see that absolutely nothing is going to happen, and that is because in Blender we need to set a mirror object. That object is going to be the center of the reflection, and so here you can see we have this mirror object, and you need to set it to something which you want to mirror along, right? So the mirror object in our case is going to be this cube right here, and the reason for that is because it's in the center of it's evenly distributed along our mesh. And we could also set it to this, but we're going to be using this this for our mirror object. Okay, so I'm just going to select this cylinder right here, and okay, yeah, this one. So we do already have a mirror modifier, so I'm just going to select this eyedropper tool right here, and we're going to be selecting this cube 1. So right now you're going to see that something very weird is happening, and it is actually mirroring it, and it is actually duplicating the object. However, it's doing that in the x-axis, and instead we wanted to do that exact same thing in the y-axis. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this x-axis off, and I'm going to see that it's going to disappear. Now if I press this y-axis, you're going to see that it's magically going to appear right here. And it's gonna be in the perfect position where we want it to. So now I'm going to be repeating that same exact process with the other one as well, this one as well. So I'm just going to add a modifier, mirror modifier, and the mirror object is going to be this right here. And I'm going to uncheck X and turn on Y. So how easy is that? And it just gives you amazing results immediately. Okay, perfect. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be like adding some minor details here and there. So we are going to be adding a cube around here, which is going to act as a, I don't know, a window of some sort. But yeah, let's add a mesh cube, and now let's move it here. So most of this is just trial and error, and I basically say that in almost every single one of my tutorials, that most of the 3D modeling is trial and error. And well, yeah, you need to just try your own creative abilities, and I would suggest you not to copy my layouts, and not to copy the designs which I make in this tutorials. But yeah, I don't make them myself either. I just take reference photos, and I try to replicate them. So yeah, anyways, so we're gonna have a cube like that. It's just gonna look good once we add the modifiers and stuff. But right now I'm just gonna keep it like that. Let me just move it a little out. Something like that should be good. And let's actually scale it up a little too as well. Perfect, cool. I'm just going to move it slightly in. Yeah, that is perfect. Cool. So we are going to be adding some modifiers, and we are going to be adding some what do you call it? A subdivision surface, which I'm going to explain later on. That's going to make it look much better. Anyways, so yeah, that is done. And apart from that, let's add some details here and there as well. Let's add a cylinder. So we could either add a cylinder, however, we could also duplicate any one of these, and we could use that as well. But now since I've already created one, I'm just going to use that instead. Okay. I'm just going to scale it up in the z-axis, and I'm just going to rotate it. So I'm just going to select the rotate tool, and I'm going to rotate it holding control. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm going to move it something like that. Let's go to the front view. Let's scale this down, and let's move it somewhere around here. So it should be intersecting with this what do you call it, this truck. However, it should not be that long. Yeah, it should be slightly long, but not that long. So something like that should do. Let me just move it here, and yeah, that should be good. Let's make it slightly larger. So something like that should do. And let me just make the length a little shorter. Yeah, this is just trial and error. and yeah, that looks perfect. So apart from that, let's add some small lights on the top, okay? And we are going to be adding a mirror later on. In fact, that's what we're going to be doing after this, okay? So I'm just going to add a few lights on the top. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and now since we already do have a mirror modifier applied, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift T, and then I'm just going to be taking the move tool, and I'm going to be moving it up. Now you're going to see that we already have 2 of these, and we don't need to apply the mirror modifier again. So that just saves us some time. I'm just going to scale these down. I'm going to move it up. Well, I scaled them down way too much. I'm just going to scale them up again. And now I'm just going to align it to this axis. Align it like that. It doesn't need to be exact because no one's going to look at your render in that much detail. But however, if you are working for someone else, if you are doing a paid project or something like that, then you should obviously make sure that all the details are perfect and everything is perfect. So yeah, that's basically it. And one thing which I'm going to do is that so next up what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be adding the windows. So for the windows, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and then we're going to be going to edit mode once again. Now what we're going to be doing in this is that we're going to be using a tool called Inset, and it's basically called Inset Face. And what you can do with that is that you can create a smaller face within a face, okay? So for that, we're first going to need to select a face, and right now we are in vertex select mode. So I'm just going to press this button right here, which is going to be face select mode, or alternatively, if you are in vertex select mode or any other mode, you can just press 3 for face select mode, and it's just 1 for vertex mode, 2 for edge select mode, and 3 for face select mode. So that's just a handy little shortcut for you. So I'm just going to turn on X-ray mode because why not? And I'm just going to select this face, this front face right here, and now we can press I, and you're going to see that if I move my cursor, you can see that we are creating a smaller face inside this inside this face. So I'm just going to create one like that, and actually I'm just going to undo it because I think it's way too it's way too small. And I'm just going to make one roughly that much smaller than the other one. Okay, cool. So now you can see that we have this face selected, and now what we can do is that we can go to edge select mode, and I'm just going to select this top edge, and I'm going to be moving it down. Well, not down like that. So right now, that exact same problem which we faced earlier is that we are using these global coordinates, and if I set this to normal, you're going to see that we can scale him down, or we can just move him along the actual axis of that edge. So I'm just going to move him down. Something like that should be good. Yeah, so we're going to have a window like that. And now if I go back to face select mode, you're going to see that this is our window, okay? And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be selecting this right here, and now we can extrude it. However, I'm going to extrude it inwards, okay? So I'm just going to press E, and I'm going to extrude it slightly inwards, just like that. So now you're going to see that we have successfully created our window. And now if I go back to object mode, we have created our windscreen. So you can see if I go back to solid mode, you're going to see that we have this amazing window right here. And right now you're not seeing it that clearly, and that is because we don't have any proper lights or textures on it or any of that. And once we add them, you are going to be noticing it, and it's going to look amazing. And now we're going to be adding, another window from the side. I'm just going to select this once again, and let's go to edit mode. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be creating another one of these. And now to create the side window, although what we could do is that we could just select this, and we could press I, inset it, and we could then select this edge, and we can move it like that, and we could just somehow place it and make the window like that. However, I'm not going to do that because I want to teach you new tools. I want to teach you new tricks and tactics. So yeah, we're going to be using another tool called a loop cut. Now what a loop cut is that you can create more geometry, you can create more more edges, more vertices along a loop basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going to the vertex select mode, and I'm going to press Ctrl R, and I'm going to see that if I hover over somewhere here, you're going to see that we get this loop cut. And now if I press left click, I just left clicked, and if I move it forward, you're going to see that we can create another cut anywhere we want. So I'm just going to add one right here, and I'm going to see that it has been applied all over this car body. So you can see we have created a loop cut successfully. And I'm going to go back to face select mode, just save your project, and I'm just going to select this, and now we can just inset it. So something like that. Perfect. And I'm going to select the top edge. I'm going to move it down. Perfect. Something like that. And let's move this edge along as well. I'm just going to move it something like that. Let's go to the side view. And I think that should be perfect. That is perfect. Cool. So yeah, just 1 second. Just let me just do one thing. Let me just move it slightly there. And slightly to the left. Now this is just personal preference, and you could obviously make any changes you like. So I'm just going to select this. I'm just going to go to face select mode first, and I'm going to select this. And now I can just extrude it inwards. Just slightly, not too much. A little bit should do. And that is done. That is perfect. Cool. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be adding a bevel on these edges, right? So the thing is, right now they look very sharp, and sharp edges in cars do not look good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be selecting this. I'm going to go to edge select mode. I'm going to be selecting this edge and this edge and this edge and this edge, and lastly this one as well. So with all these selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control B. Now, if I press Control B, you're going to see that we can actually bevel these edges. Now, the thing is, what beveling does is that it basically subdivides the edges, and it converts one edge into two. Okay, so I'm just going to, if I move my cursor around, you're going to see that we are creating basically what do you call it? We're creating a subdivision. Basically, we're converting one edge into two edges. So something like that should be good. Perfect. Now you can see that it looks much better. Anyways, so I'm just going to go to object mode again, and now you can see we have this amazing car, which is starting to look like an actual bus. Yeah, it's a bus, it's not a car, my bad. Anyways, so now let's add some more details. Let's add another cube on the top. So I'm just going to copy this one, Shift D, move it up, move it there, move it to the front. And now I'm going to be scaling it, something like that. And I'm going to be scaling it down in the Z-axis, something like that should do. And let's move it up. So I'm just going to be moving it up, move it up in the Z-axis, and I'm going to be scaling it down in the Y-axis. So that is perfect. Okay, cool. So next up, we are also going to be adding another one of these. I'm going to Shift D. I'm going to move it down, and we're going to be adding one on this area as well. I think it's called the. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. Is it the bonnet? Is it the bonnet or what? I'm not exactly sure, so I'm not gonna make guesses. Okay, I'm just gonna scale it down, something like that. Now this one is obviously going to be smaller because it has a much smaller area to be in. Let's go to the front view and let's align it with the center. Now obviously your car is going to have different details than mine, and I would recommend you to try out different details, and I would recommend you not to copy my design, not to copy the design which I'm making exactly. So yeah, and let's add another one of these to the front as well. So Shift D, and let me just move it forward. Let's just go to side view, and let's rotate this once again. Oops, rotate. Something like that should be good. Let me just move it right there. And it's not aligned properly with this car body. I'm just going to align it. Perfect. Cool. I'm just going to scale it up. And now let's scale it up a little more. Nope, never mind. Scale it up a little more. And let's now move it down. So that's intersecting with this area. And so yeah, perfect. Cool. Let's scale it up a little more. Let's move it up. Yeah, that is perfect. Cool. So now we are basically done with almost all the details, and let's actually start working on the tires now. All right, so now we're going to be working on the tires, and for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be taking a cylinder. So first of all, we're going to be creating the area which is going to be basically on the body, but it's going to be it's going to create space for the tire, right? So yeah, I'm just going to add a mesh, and let's add a cylinder. So I'm just going to move it here, and let's move it down. And now let's press R to rotate it, but I'm going to rotate it in the x-axis, so I'm just going to press X, and let's rotate it 90 degrees. Now just remember that the way you rotate it exactly 90 degrees is by holding Control, which is going to help you like rotate in increments of 5. Cool. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be aligning it something like that, so that it kind of looks like a tire, I guess. Yeah, so something like that should be a good position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going to edit mode with this selected, and now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be, all right, so with the cylinder, what we're going to be doing is that first of all, we're just going to be aligning it like that, and now let's align it in the front view as well. So I'm just going to have it something like that, because we just want a small part of it to be like extruding it, like basically visible, a small part of it to be visible, something like that. And let's actually scale it down as well, so something like that should be good. However, the bottom part of this is not going to be visible anyway, so I'm not gonna like worry about it that much. Okay, so with this selected, with this cylinder selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit mode, and here you're going to see that we can see all these vertices. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be going to the side view, and here I'm going to select half of these vertices. Okay, I'm just going to select half of these vertices, and then I'm going to be deleting them. But one mistake, which if you noticed, I made it on purpose, you're going to see that we did not select X-ray mode, and because of that, you can see we only selected half of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select X-ray mode. I just turn it on, and I'm just going to select it now, and now you can see both sides are selected, and now we can just go ahead and delete them. So just press delete vertices, and I'm going to see that we have this weird thing. We have this weird thing. And if I go to object mode, you're going to see, if I turn off X-ray mode, you're going to see that it does not have any thickness at all. It's basically a 2D plane, which is curved. Okay, so now just save your project. And now what we're going to be doing is that to actually give this thickness, we're going to be adding a modifier known as a solidify modifier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first select the cylinder, this broken up cylinder, and I'm going to add a modifier. That modifier is going to be solidify modifier. And I'm going to see that it does have slight bit of thickness, but we can obviously increase that with this thickness option right here. So I'm just going to increase it something like that, maybe even more. Something like that should be good enough. Should it? Yeah, that should be perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding a mirror modifier to this as well, so that we can have this thing on all 4 sides. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna collapse this solidify modifier, and I'm gonna add a modifier once again, and this time we are going to be adding a mirror modifier. Now the mirror object is, well, obviously you guessed it, it's gonna be this one, this object right here, and so we can just set it to this. Now you're going to see that we have this on the back as well. So we are going to be having this on the x-axis as well, and on the y-axis as well, because we want it to be on all 4 sides. Cool. So now let's just align it properly. Let me just go down and let's align it. Now you're going to see one thing is that if I zoom in, it's not perfectly flat. Okay, so to fix that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be selecting this. Let's go to edit mode, and now we can just select the vertices here. Before that, let's go to X-ray mode. Let's just bring this slightly down, but you can see it's not working because we are using the solidify modifier. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting this, and then I'm going to be rotating this vertex or whatever it's called. Anyway, so I'm just going to be moving it down, and then let's try rotating it. So you can see that it's not working either. So yeah, let's actually just roll with it, because sometimes Blender does not behave the way you want it to. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna pay that close attention to our model anyways. Okay, cool. So now once we have that, once we're done with that, next up we're going to be adding the tires. So let me just move this a little out, because why not? And we are going to be smoothing this later on. We are going to be adding a subdivision, not a subdivision surface. We are going to be beveling this. In fact, you know what? Let's just do that right now. So I'm just going to go to edit mode, and let's so the thing is, right now, if I go to edge select mode, I basically want to select all these edges right here. Okay, now either I could select one, press shift, select, and just keep selecting all these. And yeah, that could work. However, I have a much simpler way of doing that. Just press alt and press select any vertex any edge on that line, and you can see it magically selected the whole loop. So it's called loop selection, and I'm pretty sure you're already aware of that, but if you're not, then you're welcome. And with all these selected, I'm just going to press Ctrl B, and now you're going to see that nothing is happening. And the reason for that is because the thing with the solidify modifier is that right now, although we are seeing a thick object, but the vertices, the actual vertices or the actual geometry is just one single plane. And obviously you can't bevel a plane, can you? Because of, well, obvious reasons. So what we're going to be doing to fix that is, first of all, we're going to be going back to object mode, and we can apply the solidify modifier, right? So I'm just going to click this drop down menu, and then I'm going to apply it. Okay, so now what's going to happen is that all this this whole mesh is converted into one single geometry. So now if I go to edit mode, you're going to see that we have the whole mesh, and now we can easily bevel these. I'm just going to alt select this loop, and now if I press Ctrl B, you're going to see that we can easily do that. So I'm just going to add a slight bit of bevel on this. Let's increase the segments, and the way you increase segments is by moving your mouse scroll wheel up, and I'm just going to add a slight bit, something like that should be good. And yeah, perfect. Let me just go back to object mode and let's see how it looks. And it looks perfect. It looks amazing, doesn't it? So one other thing which I'm going to be doing is that I am going to be right clicking this and shading it smooth. Now you're going to see that it's going to look very weird. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another modifier which is going to fix it. And that modifier is called the edge split modifier. Now, as soon as I add it, you can see that this is magically fixed. Now, the actual working of this edge split modifier is slightly complex, so I'm not going to go into detail. But just know that it just fixes your smooth shading error. So yeah, we are going to be adding this edge split modifier to many other things as well later on. But yeah, for now, this should be good enough. And okay, so apart from that, we can also now go ahead and fix that issue. If I select this and if I go to edit mode, and don't forget to go into extra mode, now you can see that it's not aligned properly. So we can obviously fix that issue as well right now, because, well, what do you call it? We have converted it into a whole mesh. So I'm just going to select this line and this line right here, and well, all these as well. Now I could obviously do a loop select, but I'm just gonna do it the manual way. So with all these selected, I'm just gonna rotate these. So this normal, I'm just gonna set it to local for now, so that we can actually rotate this properly. And you're gonna see that if we set it to something like that, something parallel to the actual body, so something like this should be good. And let's then move it down as well. Perfect. Now we're going to be repeating this with the other side. So I'm just gonna select this line, shift this line, and let's zoom in and select all these as well. Oops, I accidentally selected the wrong one. So just Control Z, and now I can just rotate this. Let's rotate it. Something like that should be perfect. And let's move it down. And it's actually pretty much aligned. So I'm not gonna worry about making it absolutely perfect, because this is a beginner's tutorial. And yeah, okay, so now it's basically perfect. And now let's actually move on to the next part, which is adding tires. So the way I'm going to add tires is, well, I'm just going to create another cylinder. I'm just going to add mesh cylinder, and let's move this here. Let's actually go to our side view and let's align it properly. I'm just going to rotate this in the what's this called? Yeah, the x-axis, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Perfect. And I'm going to be scaling it down using the scale tool, and just move it down and just scale it properly so that it just looks right. Something like that should be perfect. Now let's go to the front view and align it with the front view as well. Now this tire is very wide for now. It's a little too wide, so I'm just gonna scale it down. Oh, sorry, not scale the whole. Don't scale the whole thing down. I'm just gonna scale it down in the z-axis. So something like that should probably be good. Yeah, I think maybe just a slight more. Yeah, perfect, cool. So now I'm going to go to front view. I'm just going to go to the front view, and I'm going to be moving it slightly towards this, slightly towards the right, And yeah, that is perfect. So that is our tire, ladies and gentlemen, and we are obviously going to be making some adjustments because this right now does not look that great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously go to edit mode, and next what we're going to be doing is that first of all, let's add a bevel to this. So I'm just going to alt select this loop. So once I've alt selected this loop, I'm going to press shift to select another loop, and then I'm going to alt select this as well. So I'm holding down shift and alt right now, and I'm going to press it, and you're going to see both of these are selected. So after that, I'm going to press Control B, and let's bevel them down slightly. Something like that should do. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting this inner face, and then I'm going to be insetting it. So just press I and inset it. And next, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be moving this in slightly, and then we are going to be insetting it once again. Now this is getting a little advanced, however, just don't worry if you don't understand this fully. And what I just did, it was that I just used inset, and we are going to be using extrude now. So just press extrude E, something like that. And now we're going to be beveling this loop as well. So I'm just going to press my I'm just going to go to edge select mode, and all these edges are selected. I'm just going to Control B, and let's bevel this as well. Now our tire looks pretty good, and if I go back to object mode, and I'm going to see our tire is ready, and you're going to see that it looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to shade it smooth, and I'm going to add another modifier, which is a edge split modifier. Perfect. Cool. So our tire looks pretty good now, and well, yeah, I'm just gonna be duplicating this tire 4 times, and instead of actually duplicating it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the mirror modifier, as we have been doing many times, as you've done many times. So I'm just going to add a modifier, mirror modifier. I'm just going to set this as the object, and I'm going to turn on Y as well. So we have 4 tires ready to go. Perfect. Now we haven't made any windows or anything like that for this side, because in our scene we're going to have the car like that. So we're going to be setting up our camera, something like that. So I don't think we need to waste time on this on making windows and stuff for this side. But you can obviously go ahead and use the same tricks which I use, the same methods which I taught for the other ones as well. So one thing which I'm noticing is that the tires are a little too small. So I'm just going to select this and this, so both of them, and then I'm going to be pressing S and scaling it up just slightly. Let's move this up slightly. And the good thing about the mirror modifier is that I just need to do these changes once and not again and again, and they're just going to be duplicated on all sides automatically. Cool. So now we are basically done with our car, and let's just work on some details. So let's add some lights right here. So for that, what I'm going to do is let's just copy this, and I'm just going to shift D, and I'm going to move it here. Let's scale it down. Let's take it up like that, and let's move it to something like that. And let's go to the side view, and let's rotate this. Perfect. Now let's move it to that position, and let's scale it down, obviously, because it's way too large for now. Something like that should be good. And that is our light. Let me just actually scale it up a little bit, because why not? So yeah, that is our light, and I'm going to be duplicating it on the other side as well. I'm just going to press this and add a modifier, and we are going to be adding a mirror modifier with what do you call it? Let's set this to be the object, and instead of X, we're just going to be setting it Y. And you can see this object is not working, and so instead what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be setting this as the object, and when we do that, you're going to see that it's perfectly mirroring. And okay, so yeah, let's move on to the next step, which is to actually let's add some details, let's add some more details on this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be adding some details to this. So let's actually go to edit mode, and let's take this edge, and let's take this edge, and let's bevel both of these. So something like that. Yeah, something like that should do. So I'm just going to go to the front view, and yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to select this line and this line. Let's move these down a little bit so that we can get a more rather even beveling look. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But yeah, this is much more. This is much better. So let's just do the same exact thing on the other side as well. Now, obviously, this does not need to be very precise because no one's gonna look at our render in that detail. But yeah, it's similar, okay, and that's what matters. Cool. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be going to face select mode. Let's select this face and let's inset this, something like that. And now with this face selected, I'm just going to be extruding it inwards just slightly. And once that's done, you can see that it is looking pretty good. So yeah, there's that. And apart from that, let's work on something else. Let's make some tweaks to this. So I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be rotating it slightly so that it's looks as if it's what do you call it, like it's coming out of the car, and yeah, that looks much better. However, I'm going to be adding some beveling to this as well. Edit mode, select this, Control B, bevel, and so let's actually make this much more beveled, so something like that should be good. And yeah, perfect. So that is done. And apart from that, I don't think we have anything left. So I have this cylinder right here. Let's add some beveling to this as well. Let's select this edge loop right here, and let's Shift Alt select this edge loop right here. And I'm going to be Control B. I'm going to press Control B, and I'm going to be beveling it slightly. So that is perfect. And apart from that, I think we're basically done. Yeah, just a few more things. So just select this as well and edit mode. And right now I'm just adding some bevels here and there to make it look more, to basically make it look better. And yeah, that is the whole purpose. Okay, cool. So now we are done with that, and let's add it to some other things as well. Yeah, let's actually select this. Oops, let's select this one, and let's select these two edges. Now, obviously, you can vary your design. You can make your design different than mine. And in fact, I would encourage you to make your design different than mine, because that's what's going to test your creative muscle. And I would not recommend you to just blindly copy this design. Anyways, so yeah, our car is basically complete by now. And yeah, one thing which we're going to be doing is that we are going to be now working on the environment. And for the environment, I'm just going to create a tree. So yeah, for the tree, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting a, sorry, not a circle, my bad. I'm going to be selecting a cylinder. So let's select a cylinder and bring it somewhere here. Let's scale it down. Something like that should be good. And now let's actually scale it down even more. And let's increase the scale like that. And cool. So next up, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be creating the top part of this. Now the top part of this, now this is up to you. It's your choice. You could either create one with a cone, or you could create one with a cylinder. So I personally prefer a cylinder because I think it looks much more cartoony. It looks much better. So I'm just going to Shift D, just duplicate this. I'm going to move it up and scale it up as well, and just move it up something like that. Now we are going to be duplicating this and making more trees out of this, but this is the general style, the general size, and we are going to be making trees of different sizes as well. So yeah, but this is going to be the average size of our trees. Cool, perfect. So we are going to be once again beveling this. I know I've been beveling a lot of things, but yeah, it's very important, and it makes your renders, it makes your models look much better. So cool. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna bevel it something like that. Perfect. So now our tree is also complete. Let's let's shade the smooth, and let's add the edge split modifier as well, so that the shading is much more accurate. And apart from that, I think we're basically done with our model. Now, one thing which I'd like to do is that I would like to actually select all these edges of this main body, and I would like to bevel them as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting the edges of this body. So select this, and let's select this as well. So with these selected, I can also select let's not select this one. So let's select this, and let's first try beveling these, and let's see what happens. So you can see we are creating a few problems right there, right here. So I'm just going to be beveling it slightly, not too much. Something like that should be good. And let's select this one as well, and let's Control B bevel it as well. That is perfect. Now these slight bevels are gonna make light reflect on of this car, and it's gonna make it look much better. So I'm just gonna select this as well, and this, and let's select all these. Okay, cool. Now let's bevel these as well. Control P, bevel them just slightly, something like that should be perfect. And I hope we are not actually making any errors, and we're not making it look weird. Okay, so I'm just gonna select this now, and let's select this, and this, and let's actually select this as well, and let's do this, and we can also do this, and this, and this, oops, and this. Just hold Shift, and let's Control P, spell it slightly, something like that should be perfect. Now you're gonna see, if I go to object mode, you're gonna see that we are having this slightly soft look on this car, which is going to make it look much better. It goes a really long way, and it makes your renders stand out, and it makes your renders look really cute, which is our objective in this. Perfect. So let me just take this and let's just move it up slightly. That's going to be perfect. Let's actually move it down a little bit. Yeah, cool, perfect. So apart from that, I think we are basically done with our car. And let's actually add some door handles right here. Let's add a door handle right there, and that door handle is going to be this, just this, but duplicated. And let's let's move it forward, and let's scale it down. So I'm just reusing the items, and that's a really smart technique to use in 3D modeling. You're not supposed to create everything from scratch, and if you have the opportunity to reuse anything, then I would definitely recommend you to do so, because it's going to save you time, and that's what matters. Yeah, and mainly because your viewers, your clients, do not really care about how you made a specific thing. They just care about how it looks, and if you're able to achieve similar design with less effort, then I would definitely recommend you to go for it and just do it. Okay, cool. So next up, we are going to be adding something on the front. So let's actually start working on that. So I'm just gonna select this cube right here, because it's already mirrored, so we don't have to apply the mirror modifier again. So I'm just going to Shift D, duplicate it, and let's move it forward. Let's move it down. Oops, sorry. Let's select this and let's move it down. Let's move it to the front. And now let's move it back. And I'm going to scale it up in the Z-axis, something like that should be good. And let's go to the front view, and let's scale it down in the X-axis. And let's scale it up in the Y-axis. Perfect. Now let's move it something like that. Should be good. Actually, let's just move it. Let's bring it closer to each other, and let's scale it down in the X-axis. So something like that is what we're going for. Let's just increase the scale like that. And let's actually rotate this as well, so that it's somewhat straight. Yeah, cool, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be moving them slightly up, and let's bevel these two edges as well. So I'm just going to go to edit mode and select this and this edge, these two edges. Let's Control B, bevel them. Something like that should be good. Let's go to object mode, and now you can see that we have this thing right here, and let's move it a little forward. And now we're going to be adding some toruses in this central area, to give it in this central area. And now I'm just going to add a torus, and let's go back and let's scale it down, bring it down. Let's go to front view. Let's go to the front view, and let's position it properly. So I'm just going to be rotating this 90 degrees. Perfect. And let's just scale it up slightly. Let's scale them up in the Z-axis, just like that. Let's move it. Let's move it a little to this side, and I'm gonna see that we are way off in the side view. So I'm just gonna align it properly, and I'm gonna see if I just duplicate this. And if I go to front view, and I can just position these properly so that they look good. I'm just gonna select both of these, duplicate them, move them like that, Now right now we're just adding some details to the car, and these details are obviously subjective, so you should feel free to make any changes you like. In fact, I would encourage you to make any changes you want, because that's really going to help you increase your creative potential. Perfect. So I'm just going to move it something like that, and now to create space for these, I'm just going to move these away slightly. Perfect. Cool. So now you can see that yeah, right now it's way too big and we have a lot of these. I'm just gonna delete 2 of them. Let's actually delete 1 more. Something like that should be enough. Let's move them to the center, roughly the center, and let's bring these together as well. Let's align them properly. Now this is just trial and error, and you should obviously make your own changes. Perfect. Cool. So that is done as well, and now our car is basically complete, and we are finally done with the modeling part. And congratulations if you made it so far. Now we're going to be moving on to the next part, which is actually just creating the whole surroundings, and then we're going to be lighting the scene, and then we are going to be adding textures, adding materials, and after that we are going to be finally rendering it, after which we are just going to be post-processing, and we are going to be editing the render, and that part is just going to be very easy. And honestly, the next part, the adding textures and lighting and all that stuff and creating the scene, that is much more fun than modeling. So if you are bored right now, just don't worry, the next parts are very, very interesting, and you're going to enjoy them a lot.